Hello lovely, and welcome back to the Makeup Hunter. In today's video I'm going to be continuing my collection series that I started. I know I promised I was going to film more regularly, but things haven't gone to plan. But I am finally getting to the second part of this this series. Today we are going to be looking at primers, foundations, concealers, setting powders, and some other random stuff. So it's the second drawer down in my, technically the third drawer down in my main makeup unit. So we'll be going through all that. I have new things that I've already added in, and I also have my Shop My Stash products and project pan items, which I'm going to add into the video, but I'll explain what is what. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this video and you have you enjoy having a nosy into my makeup collection. If you haven't already, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel. It would mean the absolute world to me. Give me a like if you like this kind of content and want to see more of my makeup collection. Leave me a comment. I try and reply to every comment that I get. And without further ado, let's get started. Thanks for watching, guys. Okay, so I realise in my last video, like my one with my lipsticks, I didn't give an overview of my makeup collection. So I thought I would do that at the start of this one, so you can sort of see what I'm working with overall. If you hear a licking noise, he is being very needy today because I had a pretty bad flare in the night, so he's not going far from my side, so you might hear noises and see him in the shot occasionally. So anyway, this is my main makeup unit, and I also have this one over here, but just one of the drawers contains makeup. Then I have my vanity, and this contains all of my skincare. So I've got my current focus palettes, all my brushes, lip liners, eyeliners, skincare obviously, and then like I say, this is my everyday makeup. But in here I also keep all my lip glosses. This is my current everyday makeup, mascaras, brow products, and then I've got like stuff at the back, like some skincare backups and things like that. So let's go through the drawers. So these top two drawers are the ones I've already done. So these are my lip products, apart from obviously lip liners and lip glosses. Then in here, this is what we are going to be tackling today. This is primers, foundations, concealers. Under here is powders, setting sprays, and I keep some lashes and sponges. Then this one is kind of a nightmare because it's double layered. I've got two of these, one on top of the other. This is bronzers, blushes and highlighters, both cream and powder, and I've also got face palettes. And then this one is eyeshadow palettes. This one tends to be my higher end ones, except for the Beauty Bay. And then in the bottom I've got all my singles, Colourpop and indie brands. Some indie brands, I've also got some up here as well. And then the only thing that's in this one is in the second drawer down, and that is single shadows. So all my Super Shocks cream shadows. I've got some highlighters from Fenty that I use as eyeshadows, and I've got all my mini Natasha Denona palettes. Okay, so I've pulled everything out. I've pulled out the whole drawer from the tool unit. I've got a bag here with my, like, it's a makeup bag I created with like my grab and go products, and I've got like Project Pan stuff in here. So if I ever need to do my makeup in a rush or in bed, I've got this that I can do a full face with. So I've got some base products in there, and then all of this here is stuff that was in my everyday makeup drawer and on top of my vanity, and I've got a couple of new products as well. So what I'm going to do to simplify it, because there is a lot of stuff here, I'm going to start by pulling all of my primers together, and we'll go through those first. Okay, so this is my primer collection. I have 3 unopened and unused primers so far, which I'm going to leave boxed. I've included the Summer Fridays mineral sunscreen in with my primers. I have other SPFs, but I just felt like putting this in with my primers. I have the NARS Radiance Primer and the Glowish Blur Jam. So those are the 3 that I have yet to use. Then in my Project Pan, I have this mini Smashbox Photo Finish Primerizer. This one, I just want to get it used up because it's just a little travel size. It's not something I would repurchase. I know they have changed the formula, but for me, it's just like using a moisturiser. I would rather use a primer that's either gives me a glow, like something like the Elf or the Charlotte Tilbury or the Say or the Glowish or Charlotte Tilbury or NARS. These are all sort of like glow boosters, or something that is like pore blurring or like gripping. I would rather use something that actually I feel like is doing something, whereas this one I don't. So I just want to get this one used up. I am going to be decluttering the Milani SPF BFF. I was keeping this at the caravan, and the last time I was there I noticed that it expired in September of last year. I bought it back with me because I wanted to focus on using it, but I tried it on the back of my hand last night and my hand was really sore and has got some like dry flaky patches on it where I put this, so I'm a bit frightened to use this on my face, so I am going to be getting rid of this one. That is the only one that I'm actually going to be decluttering. I mentioned previously that these videos aren't declutters. What I am doing with regards to declutters at the moment is I am using products in my everyday makeup routine, and if I don't like it, I sort of get rid of it that way, rather than doing a mass declutter and just getting rid of things that I don't like or don't suit me or have expired as I actually have them in rotation. So some of my absolute favourites here are the Elf Power Grip Primer. I really want to try the Milk Hydro Grip, but I don't really think I need to now that I have this one. I really love it. I really like how it keeps my makeup on. I find that it does perfect my skin a little bit and my makeup just looks beautiful on top of it. I also absolutely adore the Elf Soft Velvet Primer. This was from their Good Vibes Only collection. It's like a soft matte pore filling primer, very silicone-y, but feels so lovely on the skin. and my makeup just looks beautiful on top of it. My skin is going through some changes at the moment as I'm on a new treatment for my endometriosis, and my skin is usually super dry and dehydrated, but on this new medication it's gone a little bit more combo. So primers like this and the Power Grip have been sort of like go-tos, as my makeup seems to sort of slide off my face a lot quicker than it used to. I also love the NYX the Marshmallow Primer. This is the one that's in my stash currently. The Revolution IRL Skin Filter Pore Blur Primer. I haven't actually wore this on my face yet, but I have tried it on the back of my hand and it feels very similar to the e.l.f. Another favourite is the Paul and Joe Illuminating Primer. This gives like a pearly kind of radiance to the skin that looks absolutely beautiful in photographs. It's really, really beautiful. A long-term favourite is the Illamasqua Hydra Veil. This is kind of like the original version of this and the Milk Hydro Grip. It's a very like gripping gel kind of consistency, and it's super hydrating. I absolutely love using that in the winter. I have 3 of the e.l.f. Halo Glow for different reasons. So this is the one, the lightest one. This is the one I use sort of the most. Then I wanted one that was a bit deeper that I could use when I'm self-tanned, to give me a little bit of a sort of a glow, like a tint. And then I've got this one that I use as a liquid bronzer. I've got the original Hollywood Flawless filter, and my absolute favourites are the Glowish by Huda Beauty. Again, I've got the one that's my normal skin tone, and then I've got this one that I mix with foundation if I'm self-tanned, or I've also used it as a liquid bronzer and it's beautiful like that. I also have the Say Glowy Super Gel, which is another favourite of mine. This is so beautiful. It feels like skincare. It smells like a spa, although I know a lot of people don't like the smell of this. I really want to pick up the deeper one, so I've got sort of like one for when to give me a bit more of a tint. But I absolutely love this. I can't find fault with it at all. An old big but gold is the Wonder Glow from Charlotte Tilbury. This is sort of like a more subdued version of the Hollywood Flawless filter. It's a soft golden glow that just gives a bit of radiance to the skin. It's super hydrating, makeup sits lovely on top of it. And very similar is the NARS Radiant Glow Booster. This is the lightest shade, and this I have in rotation at the moment, as well as the NYX Marshmallow. One that I use every single day is this Revolution Line Fix Under Eye Primer. I find this is super helpful. It helps my mascara not transfer onto my eyes. It also helps my concealer and setting powder look smoother on my under eye area, and I won't be without this. I absolutely love it. It's just like a putty primer, but it's very dry. It doesn't feel greasy under the eyes or anything like that. I absolutely love it. So that is all my primers and just one surprise declutter. Okay, next up we have my lighter coverage foundations, tinted moisturisers, B creams, that sort of thing. I've also got my tinted SPF. This one I only got today. I've got one of my newest ones is the NARS tinted moisturiser. I absolutely love both of these. I was actually wearing this at the beginning of this video. Some Old Faithfuls are the It Cosmetics CC cream. This is the last one of these I have left. I had a couple of these in different tones, but I am sort of having this as a bit of a focus product at the moment. It's a bit older in my collection and I want to try and get it used up. It's not one that I love as much as I used to since discovering other things. I find that it's a bit heavier than I want for like a CC cream or a tint, and I also find that it does get shiny at the moment on me quite quickly. So ones that I love sort of that have replaced that are these two, so the Max Factor and the L'Oreal. Both of these are absolutely beautiful. They have decent coverage, but they wear really well, they feel really comfortable, and I just absolutely love them. I have yet to try the L'Oreal True Match Nude, the serum. I know this is a lot of people's favourite base products, so I definitely want to give it a try. I think I'm going to pull it into my next rotation. The ones that are in rotation at the moment are these three. I also have the Light Wonder. This is another old favourite. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Light Wonder. This is one of my all-time favourite foundations. Very light to medium coverage, but just looks so beautiful on the skin. It feels like luxurious, and I always feel super good in myself when I wear it. I've got the Rare Beauty Tinted Moisturiser. I have yet to try this one. And then I have these ones are, these three are sort of give a bit more coverage. They're sort of like borderline between a tinted moisturiser, skin tint, and a foundation. The Le Beige, the original Chanel Le Beige Water Fresh Tint, this is another one of my cult classics, but total favourites in my collection. I absolutely love this. I love how my skin looks with this and how it feels. I really want to try the Rose Ink version of this, because I've heard it's a little bit more matte on the skin than the Chanel, but this I absolutely love. They brought out this one, which is sort of like a more full coverage version. I haven't actually used this one yet, but I had a tester of it and I absolutely love it. It is very similar to this one, but like I say, just a bit more coverage and slightly less radiant than this one. And then these two, to me, are very similar. They have more of a matte finish and they are like a light to medium but buildable coverage. They last really well on the skin. You can go super glam with them or something, you know, light and casual. Really do enjoy both of these. When my skin was super dry, I found the Fenty picked up on dry patches quite a bit, but now my skin's going a bit more combo. This one is going to be a favourite. I can already tell. The Dior is a big favourite of mine. I just love this for, like I say, when I want something that's just going to be, you know, a Goldilocks product. It's sort of, it can be anything. It can be casual or super glam, and it just wears so beautifully on the skin. Okay, so now we are moving on to more traditional foundations. Some of these aren't super heavy coverage. They are sort of similar to, say, the Dior and the Fenty in coverage. And then some of these are super full coverage, which I keep for when I go out. Not that that happens very often. So I've got brand new the NARS Natural Radiant Longwear Foundation. I haven't used this one yet. I also have the NARS Light Reflecting Foundation. I have tried this once, really love it. Other more newer foundations are the Holly Boone Luminous Soft Focus Airbrush Foundation, the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin. I've used both of these once, and these two I have yet to use. Everything else I've used. Two that are in my project pan are my Clinique Beyond Perfecting and my Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Hydrating Foundation. Both of these are old favourites. This one I have repurchased a couple of times over. I absolutely adore this foundation, and the Fenty I really love as well. This one is one of my oldest foundations now, so I am trying to get it used up and out of my collection. You can see I have got quite a good, you know, dip going there, but there is still quite a lot of product left. Still smells fine, performs fine, everything like that. This one is impossible to tell how much is left in this. I've tried to take the stopper out, but I can't get the stopper out. It's one of those that has a doe foot applicator, but I really love this foundation. What I have been doing quite a lot lately is putting this in the centre of my face where I've been getting a little more oily, and then using my It Cosmetics CC cream on the perimeters of my face and kind of mixing the two together. So I've got like longer wear, more full coverage down the centre of my face, and then lighter, more like hydrating coverage on the outer perimeters of my face. So those are two very long-term favourites. Another favourite of mine, which I don't hear a lot of people talk about this foundation, and I actually got this foundation free when I made a purchase at Charlotte Tilbury. It's the Airbrush Flawless Foundation. This is a super full coverage. It's not super matte. It is matte, but it's not like a drying matte finish. When my skin was super dry and dehydrated, I could still use this foundation and have it look absolutely beautiful. And this is what I go to if I want full beat glam. I'm doing full slashes, big smoky eye, you know, I want to go all out. This is the foundation that I use. I absolutely love it. Probably my favourite foundation of all time is the NARS Sheer Glow. This is such a beautiful foundation. It's lightweight, it looks so natural on the skin, but it can also be built up to give you pretty decent coverage. One that I find very similar to that is the Armani To Go foundation. This is, it's not the Luminous Silk. This is called Essence in foundation. It's a cushion foundation, and it has a very similar amount of coverage and finish as the NARS Sheer Glow. This is another one of my absolute favourites. I have the Luminous Silk, but I honestly can't remember what I think about this foundation. I don't even know if I've ever used it, which is crazy. So I think this is going to be one of the ones I pull in my next Shop My Stash rotation. I have the original Dior Forever Skin Glow. This was before they reformulated, and I absolutely love this foundation. Again, it's one that just looks really beautiful on the skin no matter what occasion. Similar to the NARS Sheer Glow and the Dior Forever are the Flower Light Illusion and the Milani Screen Queen. These are if I want something to feel very lightweight on the skin, but that's going to give me a decent amount of coverage and have a very like natural finish. The Milani is more matte than the Flower Beauty. I absolutely love both of them. I really do love all of my foundations. The only ones that I could sort of do without really are my Maybelline Superstay 24-hour foundation. It used to be my ride or die foundation. I've gone through several bottles of this. When I was doing makeup professionally, I had several different shades. This was the foundation that I kept in my kit. It's super versatile, long wearing, it's pretty bulletproof, but the kind of foundation that if I want this level of coverage and finish, it's only when I'm going full glam and I want something a bit more luxurious, as silly as that sounds. If I am going to be out travelling, say, and I'm going to be out for a long time, and I want my foundation to be full coverage and last, then I will reach for this. I mean, you can see I've used quite a lot of it. I'm kind of down halfway down it, but this is the only one that I could sort of do without. And the IRL Filter Foundation from Revolution is a very similar foundation to the Maybelline. It has quite a soft matte finish. It's got buildable coverage. It doesn't feel cakey on the skin, but you look like you're wearing makeup. But yeah, these are two that I'm glad I've got in my collection. I'm not ready to get rid of them yet, but out of all of them, those are probably the two that I'm least likely to reach for. I really can't wait to try the Beautiful Skin, the NARS, and to use the Luminous Silk, because like I say, I honestly can't remember what I think about it. I love NARS based products as a rule, so I'm sure that I'll love, in fact I know I'll love the Natural Radiant Longwear, because this is a repurchase. This will be the second bottle of this that I have. I completely used up a full one previously. The Holly Boom foundation, this one I have only used once. I want to use it a little bit more to get more thoughts on it, but I think this one is going to be similar to the Charlotte Tilbury, where this is going to be one that I go to when I'm going out and I want my foundation to last a long time. The NYX Born to Glow is, I've heard, is a dupe for the NARS Sheer Glow, and I actually do find them very similar. I don't think they make this foundation anymore, which is a real shame because it's really beautiful. It's up there as probably one of my favourite drugstore foundations. So that is all my foundations. I'm going to put the numbers on the screen, the totals of each section, but with my foundations I will be combining tinted moisturisers and foundations together, as that's how they're stored in my inventory. Next we'll move on to concealers and correctors, and I thought I'd show you what the tub looks like now I've sorted everything out, given it a bit of a tidy up. I can't fit my new NARS foundation. I couldn't before. That was just kind of slotted down the front, same as the primer. I've also pulled out, obviously, the products that were in rotation in my project pan. So yeah, this is everything. Let's move on to concealers. Okay, so concealers and correctors is an area that's kind of blown up in my collection over the last 12 months. I've been on a bit of a journey to find my favourite concealer, and I think I've got there. I have definitely found some absolute winners, and I've also found some that I wouldn't bother with again. So this is how I store my concealers. These are the things that are currently in my rotation, and this is my newest, well, these two are my newest concealers. So let's go through first of all the pot concealers. So I only have two. I have the NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer. This is one that I had been wanting for so long, and I kept putting off getting because I don't have very many breakouts, but I'll get the occasional one, and I've got nothing really that sort of covers the way that I want it to. So I have this, which I now keep in my everyday makeup drawer. It's in there at all times, and I use this for covering up the odd pimple, if I get redness around my nose, that sort of thing. And the hype is real about this. I really do love it, and I'm so glad that I finally bit the bullet and got it. Then I have the Glossier Stretch Concealer, which is pretty much the opposite end of the spectrum to the NARS. And this one is very hydrated, an emollient, and it's quite a light coverage concealer. So again, this one sits with my NARS in the top drawer of my, in my everyday makeup drawer. And the way I use it is I take a big fluffy brush, dip into the concealer, and I just brush it all over my face where I need it, and then I'll put like a liquid concealer under my eyes, thin layer of powder, and that's it. That's sort of like a no makeup look, and I really love how it looks. Similarly, I have the Seek Pair by Dr. Jart. This is just a mini. This is the green colour correcting cream. And what you do with this is you put it on any areas of redness. You can use it all over your face instead of a tinted moisturiser. It's green, but as you blend it into the skin, it adjusts to your skin tone and adds coverage, but it also is skincare, so it helps to combat the redness and repair the skin barrier as well. And then concealers that are in my stash, my rotation at the moment. I have in my project pan the Revolution Eye Bright. I have 2 of these, and this one is in the shade Light. This is my other one in the shade Porcelain, I think. Yeah, and these are the ones that have usually got a sponge tip applicator, but I hate those applicators, so I pulled them all off, and you can see I am pretty much out of this one. You can see where the sponge was, and I just pulled it off. I was really struggling to get product out of it, but since I've took the sponge applicator off, I can now get product out of it. Not my favourite concealer. I do find it's quite an oily consistency. You can actually see the oils separating inside, and I do find that it picks up my foundation sometimes, and I just don't love it, and it's not the best coverage, but I am burning through this quite quickly. I don't think there's a huge amount of product in these, so once I finish this one, I'm going to move on to this one, and they are concealers that I 100% would not repurchase. Concealers from Revolution that I do really like are the Revolution Conceal and Hydrate. Again, I have 2 of these in the shades C1 and C3, and these are great coverage concealers. They are hydrating, but they don't settle into fine lines or crease or anything like that. I used to love the original Conceal and Define concealer. I've gone through several tubes of that concealer, and again, when I was doing makeup professionally, that was the concealer that I kept in my kit in several different shades, so I do really rate those. And I also really love the Conceal and Define Infinite. This is in the shade C2, and this one is just a much longer wearing, more matte finish, but it looks beautiful on my aging under eyes. The coverage is really great on it. I was really impressed. This was one of my top finds of 2022. Then another favourite concealer is the NYX Born to Glow. Similar to the foundation, I absolutely adore this concealer. Again, I don't think they make it anymore. This one is another sponge applicator, but this one I do actually get on with. The product comes out absolutely fine, and I absolutely love it. It looks beautiful on the under eyes. It's radiant, but it doesn't crease. It wears really well. One of my favourites from the drugstore. And then my most recent concealer purchase, and one of my more successful purchases this year, is the Huda Beauty Faux Filter Concealer. This one is in the shade Yogurt Drops. So I was looking for a concealer that had a pink undertone, and I'd seen this one on social media. It doesn't look particularly pink toned on camera, but it does show up quite pink toned on the skin, and if you look at the swatches you can see how pink in tone it actually is in comparison to the other shades. This is a beautiful concealer. I can absolutely see me picking up more colours or more shades in this concealer. You'll see a bit of a theme in my favourite concealers. I do tend to have several shades for one that's like spot on to my skin tone, then ones that are brightening, ones that again are cancel out darkness, that sort of thing. I do like to have a few different shades, but this one is beautiful. It just wears really nicely. It's just perfect. Can't find fault in this at all. And then some other favourites that I discovered were the Holly Boon concealers. And again, as you can see, I have 3 different shades in this. So I have the shades SF0, SF1W and SF0.5N. And this, I think, is probably my all-time favourite concealer, has become my all-time favourite concealer. I absolutely love it. It's very similar to the Huda Beauty. So it has a soft matte finish, but it's not dry under the eyes. It's super creamy, super full coverage, and it wears absolutely beautiful. It's the concealer that I go to if, you know, I want full beat and I want that makeup to be perfected. This is the concealer that I go for, and you can see how much I love it because I purchased it in 3 shades. Then I also have 2 from Too Faced. These are the Born This Way Ethereal Light Concealers. These are a light reflecting concealer, which is what I love for under the eyes. What I like doing is using a concealer like the Holly Boon and then adding a little bit of this to the like inner corners of the eyes to bring a little bit of brightness. The only thing I don't like about these concealers is it's really difficult to get product out. The doe foot is quite sharp and stiff, so I find that I'm constantly dipping, adding. But other than that, the actual product itself is beautiful. Highly recommend if you're after a glowy concealer. And then the rest of them, we'll just go through the rest of these. So I've got a long-term favourite is the Flow of Beauty Light Illusion Concealer. This is beautiful, very similar to the foundation in that it's a lightweight but buildable coverage. It's not drying under the eyes, but it provides enough coverage for me, and it wears really nicely. Similar to that is the Dior Forever Skin Corrector. This is just a Goldilocks concealer. It's a massive component. There's so much product in here, and it's got a really big doe foot, which is what I like in my concealers. I like a larger doe foot. This is sort of like spot on to my skin tone, so I do tend to add another concealer to add brightness under my eyes. I think they've reformulated the concealer as well and expanded the shade range, so I may eventually pick up another shade that's a little bit lighter. Beautiful concealer, one of those that you can just rely upon. And I know it's a lot of people's favourite concealer, and for good reason. And then another one similar is the Laura Mercier. This is the Flawless Fusion Ultra Longwear Concealer. Absolutely love this concealer. Again, like the Dior, it's kind of a, you know, a Goldilocks. It's not too full coverage, it's not too drying, but it's not too too creamy that it slips and slides everywhere. It's just a great concealer, and it is ultra long wear. It does wear really well. it kind of sets itself. So if you don't like using powder, you don't necessarily need to set that concealer. The Rare Beauty concealer, this one I've only used a couple of times, so I don't have my full sort of thoughts and opinions on it, but I do really like it. The shade is perfect for me. It's nice and bright, and yeah, I liked it when I used it, but I haven't used it for a long enough period of time to get like full thoughts and opinions. The Pat McGrath concealer, I have yet to use this. I've had it for quite a while now, and I have yet to use it because it's Pat McGrath. I'm terrible with my Pat McGrath products. I'm like saving them for special occasions, which is ridiculous. So I think this is one that I do need to pull into a shop my stash soon, but I've heard nothing but good things about this concealer. I didn't buy that full price. I got that during Black Friday. The e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. This is second or third one of these I've got. This is just a great workhorse concealer. It's nothing amazing or revolutionary. It's just a good concealer. It has good coverage. It goes nice on under my eyes. You know, it doesn't settle into fine lines or anything like that. You do need to set this concealer or it will sort of travel throughout the day. But it's just a nice concealer. One that I have been trying to sort of get more of an appreciation with is the NYX Bear With Me Concealer Serum. I know this is a lot of people's favourite concealers. And when I first got it, I didn't really understand what the hype was, but I put it in a shop my stash recently and I really came to appreciate it. But I do need to use it a little bit more consistently, I think, before I fully fall in love with it. It is a really nice concealer, but the only issue is this was completely sold out everywhere when I purchased it, and I got the very last shade that was on the shelf. There was just this one random one on its own, and it's in the shade 02 Light, and I would like one that's a little bit lighter and brighter because this is pretty much the same shade as my foundation. And then we've got a couple of pen concealers. So we've got the Essential High Coverage Concealer Pen from Jouer. This is a cream concealer that I like using as a spot concealer before I had the NARS, but this one is quite creamy and emollient, but it is a beautiful concealer and really, really good coverage. Then the e.l.f. Brightening Concealer. This I like using when I perhaps use something like the Dior that's a little bit darker than I would like. I'll use this and then add a little bit of this in the inner corner. Quite light coverage, so it's not going to be your coverage concealer. It is just literally going to brighten the area. And then similar is the Fenty Beauty Under Eye Brightener. This one is in the shade Rose Quartz. This is a pink toned colour corrector, but again, it's quite a light coverage, so it's not going to give you, you know, that total block out all your dark circles under your eye. It's just going to lighten and brighten. It's a beautiful formula, and I really like wearing this on lighter makeup days when I'm just perhaps doing a tinted moisturiser and a bit of cream bronzer. So that's all of my concealers, and I need a drink now. I'm out of breath. Okay, and last but one section, we are looking at my powders. Another area that's kind of exploded over the last 12 months as I came to know my preferences as far as powder is concerned. So I'm going to start off with this one. This is half the YSL Soufflé de Clap powder. This was one of my all-time favourite powders. and I crushed up the remains of my Chanel Healthy Glow powder, which was my favourite pressed powder. I only had a tiny bit left of each, so I crushed them up and crushed the setting powder up and added it into this loose powder component. This is in my project pan at the moment, and I still absolutely love it. Even I call it my franking powder. Even frankened into something, you know, new, it is still beautiful and performs just as well as the two did separately. So this is sort of my everyday powder at the moment. It has a bit of radiance to it. Both the Healthy Glow and the YSL, and both had a luminosity to them. And it's just a really beautiful powder, and the tone is really nice of this as well. Then in rotation at the moment as well, I have my Ben Nye Pretty Pink powder. This was one that I decluttered from my collection quite a long time ago. We're talking a couple of years ago. And it was sitting in my mum's collection. She wasn't using it, and when the pink powders became really popular on social media, I thought, oh, I'm sure I had one of those. Found it in my mum's drawer, and she gave it me back, and I have been using it and really enjoying it. It was pretty much full when I had it back. And then another couple of powders that are in rotation at the moment are an oldie but gold. This is the MAC Truth and Light powder. This is sort of a radiant finishing powder. It has a lot of luminosity and shimmer to it. And I like using this as sort of like a finishing powder to just add that bit of radiance. And I also sometimes use this instead of a highlighter, because it does have quite, I'm not sure how that's going to pick up, does have quite a lot of radiance to it. It's a beautiful powder. It's one I've had for a very long time, but I got it still sealed. I bought it when I was abroad in Portugal, and I had my makeup done in a MAC store in Portugal the one day. Me and my boyfriend had a row. We were out shopping. We'd hired a car, and I left him in a shopping centre and went and had my makeup done on MAC, and cured the blues by buying a shit ton of MAC makeup in Portugal. So it's got some fond memories attached to it, but it is a stunning powder. And then I've also got in rotation, so that is the e.l.f. Camo CC powder. I unfortunately got a shade too light and too yellow for me, so I can only use this under my eyes, but I actually really like using this after I've done my eyeshadow to sort of help brush away any fallout. And it also, being a foundation powder, does add a little bit of coverage. And I've just realised I missed two primers because they were in here. So these are my e.l.f. Putty primers. I've got the original poreless putty and the vitamin C, which is a nice glowy putty primer. The e.l.f. poreless putty primer is one of my favourites. I like combining this with a more hydrating primer, just in the areas where I've got, you know, more prominent pores, so like down the sides of my nose, around my mouth, in between my brows, and I really like it for that. Three of my newest powders are these three here, which is why they're separate. I had them in my box of shame and have now used them all, so can put them away into my collection. This is a regular repurchase. This is probably fourth or fifth one of these that I've gone through. This is the MAC Studio Fix powder foundation. This used to be the only powder I would use, and I really missed it and wanted it back in my life, so I got that beautiful powder foundation. Same as the Fenty Beauty. I got this because my mum uses this every day in place of any cream foundations. She swears by this, so I wanted to try this, but I still do prefer the MAC Studio Fix, but they are both interchangeable for me. I absolutely love both of them. And then again, these are my newer ones. So I finally picked up one of the Givenchy Prism Libre powders. These are a colour correcting and brightening powder. The hype's real on this. This is beautiful. It's not shimmery, but it is radiant. It's so blurring and lightweight. It's absolutely stunning. It's a stunning powder, and I am thinking of eventually picking up another one that's more of a skin tone powder. And then a recent favourite that has probably become my all-time favourite loose powder is the Huda Beauty powders. So I have two shades. I have Cupcake, which is like a pinky sort of it's a flesh tone, but it's more pinky peach. And then Sugar Cookie, which is the completely translucent white one. I love these powders. Everybody raves about them, and they are beautiful. I love the smell of them, which is so random, I know, but they have a beautiful scent to them. I know a lot of people find it really off-putting, but I think it's beautiful. I know that I can rely on these powders. They're really blurring. They don't pick up on texture or clump or cake or anything like that. They're super lightweight and finely milled, but once they're on, the makeup's set, it's not going anywhere. I love these and would recommend them to anybody. I definitely want to pick up the pink Cherry Blossom Cupcake one at some point. And then I might as well finish all my loose powders. So I've also got a mini of the Fenty Beauty Butter powder. This one I haven't opened yet. Had it a long time, but I've yet to get round to using it. So this one will probably be pulled next. A favourite is the Inglot Stage Sport Screen. This looks like a yellow powder, but it's completely translucent when it's on the skin. But this is one that is similar to the Huda Beauty in that it's bulletproof. Like once this is on, your makeup is set. It's not going anywhere. Doesn't look cakey. It's not as finely milled as the Huda Beauty, as you can probably see in there, but it's a beautiful powder that's really reliable, and one I just in general don't think Inglot gets enough hype. Another Inglot one is I've gone through two others of this powder. This is the HD Illuminizing Loose Powder. I had 3 colours and I've used up 2 entirely. This is the last one that I've got left, and this is sort of like a yellowy gold, similar to the MAC Truth and Light powder. This is a loose powder that you can use to set, but also as a finishing powder because it has a lot of luminosity to it. I'm not sure how well it's gonna pick up, as I said before, but there is like a very delicate like shimmer sparkle to it. It's really beautiful. And as with the Truth and Light one from MAC, I can sometimes, if I've got, you know, if I want more of a subtle look, I'll use this instead of highlighter. Some other glowy loose powders that I have are 2 from Bare Minerals. So these are both mineral veils. This one is the original Feather Light, and this one is in Diamond Light. This was a limited edition. So these are again a very finely milled finishing powder that has like a shimmer and a radiance to it. This one is pink toned and this one is like a pearl kind of finish, but again I do love a sparkly powder, not sparkly and glittery, but you know, that gives some life back to the skin. I also have the e.l.f. Halo Glow setting powder. This is one that I've heard so many people rave about. Haven't tried this one yet, so again, this needs to be one that I pull soon. This is one from Glam Shop that I got as a free gift with purchase, and this is just a loose finishing powder, but this one also has a beautiful radiance to it and looks absolutely stunning on the under eyes. I was so impressed when I tried this out, and for the fact that it was free as a gift with purchase was even better. Then I have the Too Faced Born This Way Ethereal Setting Powder. I think this is a new one. It was on the new in section when I purchased it. It was released with the Ethereal Light Concealers. I've only used it once, so I don't have much of an opinion on it. But I know that the Too Faced loose powders have been long-term beauty YouTuber favourites for years. The time I used it, I liked it, but I wasn't obsessed or blown away. But I think I just need to use it a little bit more. I think at this point, the Huda and the Givenchy are going to be really tough to beat. And then one that has been a workhorse in my collection for a long time. I still have tons of this left, but you only need a small amount of this powder. This is the perfect setting powder from Cover FX. This was just a mini that I purchased in the shade Translucent Light. This one is a lovely finely milled powder, similar to the Huda, where it's beautiful on the under eyes. It does have a slight radiance to it, but not as much as the others that I've shown you, but just enough that it doesn't make your skin look flat matte. Really beautiful. And then onto pressed powders. So I've always been a fiend for a pressed powder. I've always preferred them to loose powders, but as I've got older, I definitely prefer a loose powder. Some of my favourites here are the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless. When I first got it, I couldn't understand what the hype was with this powder, but I really do get it now. It's just a perfect powder. It sets your makeup in place. It doesn't enhance texture or pick up on fine lines, or you know, if you've got dry skin, it doesn't make your skin look super dry and crusty. The only thing is, these are so soft that you do sort of tear through them quite quickly. And I've seen so many people who've hit pan or gone through several of these, and I can understand why, because the powder is so soft that you do get quite a lot kick up on the brush. But this would be one that I would definitely repurchase and would probably keep in my collection for years to come. Some others that I feel similarly about are the Dior powders. So I have 3 of these in total. My other one, I use as a bronzer. I have the shade 1N, which was the one I purchased first, but this one is a little bit too dark to use on my under eyes, so I also picked up the shade 0N. This is the powder if you don't like powder. So if you've got really dry skin and you hate powder, but you want to just set your makeup and have it look sort of airbrushed, these are the powders to go for. The only thing is, they do seem to create hard pan, which I still can't decide yet if it is hard pan or if it's just the texture of the powder. But you can sort of see there, I've sort of scratched a little bit of it off, but when I rub over it, I still pick product up. So I don't know if it is hard pan or not, but those are really beautiful. I loved it so much that I got one in a shade that I could use as a bronzer. An old classic that, again, I've gone through tons of these. This is the Rimmel Stay Matte Powder. This is the translucent version in 001. I just can rely on this powder. If I am going somewhere and I want my makeup to last all day and to not get shiny or anything like that, then this is the one that I set my face with. It's great and it's so cheap. Another one that I've got that loads of people recommended was the number 7 powder. This is supposed to be a dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury. I haven't actually used this one yet, so again I need to pull this one into a Shop My Stash, but if it's anything like the Charlotte Tilbury and as good as everybody says, I'm sure I'll love it. Then I have my Kosas powder in the shade Airy. This is the Kosas Cloud Set. Beautiful powder, very similar to the Givenchy Prism Libre, but in kind of a powder form. It's so finely milled, so lightweight and silky. It has a slight radiance to it, but it's not sparkly. And again, like the Dior, if you don't like powder, I think you will like the Kosas. It's beautiful. And a similar texture is the Pat McGrath Under Eye powder. This is just the one in the shade Fair to Light. Very, very similar texture to the Kosas, but obviously this one is much brighter, being a white powder. Beautiful for under the eyes, as it's meant for. And then I have some slightly more luminous pressed powders. This one is the MAC Trolls Beauty Powder. This is a pink radiant powder that I like using as a finishing powder, specifically on my under eye and tops of my cheekbones. It's really soft, but has quite a lot of quite a bit of a sheen to it. It's one of my favourites in my collection, and one that I really didn't use much at all until I took it on holiday with me and figured out the way that I like to use it. I thought it was a highlighter when I purchased it, but it's definitely beautiful used with like a big fluffy brush, just dusted lightly all across the face, on the under eyes, down the centre of the face, at the very end of your makeup. It's beautiful. And I've also got the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Powder. This can be used as a setting powder, but it's almost hydrated. It's a very like smooth, spongy powder, and again has a radiance to it, but it looks so beautiful on the skin. And then we've got the Glowish pressed powder in the shade Fair. I love this powder, same as I love the original Glowish. That whole line really I absolutely love. This one is very luminous, and if you have oily skin or very textured skin, I'm not sure that you'll like it, but I like using this on my under eyes and as a finishing powder. And then lastly, I have my Hourglass Ambient Lighting Trio. This was one I decluttered to my mum, as a lot of my makeup tends to end up in my mum's makeup storage. I gave this to her because I wasn't using it and she wasn't using it, and I thought it was so expensive and I coveted it for so long that it's a shame for it to be languishing in her collection. So I've taken it back and I have actually got some good use out of it. I can't use these two as finishing powders really, because they are a bit too dark for my skin. I use this one as like a finishing powder, and then I tend to use this one sort of over my bronzer, and then this one as a highlight on the tops of my cheekbones. Yeah, that's all my powders. So I'll put the number on the screen. Okay, and lastly we have my setting sprays. I don't have a huge amount of these, and this is an area of my collection that I am trying to get down and just purchase my favourites. My absolute favourite out of all of these is the Benefit Professional Super Setter. I only have a travel size of that, but when that runs out I will 100% be picking up the full size. There are a couple of other setting sprays that I would like to try, like the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip setting spray and the Rare Beauty one. This one is the Charlotte Tilbury that I had to decant into one of these bottles because the nozzle broke. I do really like this setting spray, but I have seen a few other people have issues with the spray bottles breaking, so that kind of puts me off purchasing it. In here is another Franken one. This is half the Cover FX Illuminating Setting Spray and half the Colourpop, like the coconut one, the hydrating one. That was for a long time my favourite setting spray. This one is very illuminating. It has like a shimmer pigment in it, so I do like this one if I'm going out to add that little bit of sparkle. Same with the Fourth Ray Glisten Up. This one is one of those that you shake and the shimmery pigment mixes in. This one is beautiful. It smells like oranges. I haven't tried the IRL All Day Filter yet. This is a mattifying one, so this might be good to use at the moment as we're in warmer weather. I really like the Revolution Super Dewy. It's a lovely setting spray to use to like melt all the powders on your face together and get rid of that like cakey powdery look, similar to the Beauty Pie Fresh Glow. And then the I Heart Revolution Coconut one, this says it is hydrating, but there is quite a lot of alcohol in it, so I do find it is slightly drying. So yeah, not a lot to say regarding setting sprays. They are an essential part of my routine. I don't do my makeup without them, and I use them at a few different points during my makeup routine. But I don't think I've yet found one that blows my socks off other than the Professional. I like most of these, but I don't love them. So that's everything. I have put everything back in the drawer. There is one more section in that drawer, which is like liquid highlighters, liquid bronzers and liquid blushes, but I don't have a lot of those, so I'll include them with the rest of my blushes, bronzers and highlighters, which will be the next installment. So that's everything. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's taken me a long time to film, and I'm sure it's going to take me a long time to edit. I hope that the angles and everything were better this time and that you can't see the tripod legs, but yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. I hope you're all keeping well, that you're looking after yourself and being kind to yourself. I know it's not always easy to be kind to ourselves, but try and treat yourself as you would treat other people. Love you all. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.